Excuse me. Allergies. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels, and yes, I am here early. And why is that? Because I took a couple hours off and I actually have tomorrow off. Woo! Thank you, floating holiday. So, yeah, extremely happy about that. Very much so. And I did great today and managed to almost close out at $8,000 overall in money that I earned for the company today. I wish my account had $8,000. Neither here nor there. We're going back to that horrible world known as the JRC, folks, but before we get going, the usual disclaimers. You are going to see the link to this article right there in the description box, alongside the other pertinent links to the Stop the Shocks campaign, including Autistic Hoya's massive archive on the subject and the templates. Folks, you know the drill. Sign your name, click on your senator. We are now literally on the road to Canton as we speak. That is next month. Please get it done. Please share it. In the ever-present and self-explanatory Change.org Shut the Judge Rotenberg Center Down petition. Folks, when we talk about the JRC, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of peoples with disabilities being tortured and abused. Got young children present, please use your headphones, all right? All right, so we're going to where we left off here. Sorry, folks, I'm kind of dying. I should probably stop putting on jammies right after bath, after workout. I kind of like sweat myself out. Kind of dying. Ugh, better. Get that opso around my back. All right. The JRC as a themed and immersive space. Themed psychon. Okay, maybe themed, but there is no overarching theme, which makes it freaking a train wreck. A long, bad acid trip, kabuki side train wreck. I don't even know. I don't have words. But moving on. I begin this section in which I examine the JRC as a theme space as described by Godiner, Lucas, Ron, and others, with a description of an image of the entrance to the Emerald City Rewards area of the JRC taken by Friedman. The color photograph shows then director Matthew Israel wearing a gray suit and tie with balding gray hair standing at the entrance to the Emerald City. His arms are open in a gesture of welcome, and there is a slight smile on his face. Sick fuck. He belongs in a jail cell. I will never think anything else. Behind him is encased a figure of the wonderful Wizard of Oz. Again, clashing Disney with Wizard of Oz, it makes no cohesive sense. Standing on either side of the green, glitter-encased wizard are Cowardly Lion and the Scarecrow, both waving as if to welcome the visitor. God, kill me. In the foreground is a figure of Glinda the Good Witch. To the left is the lion is a green glittery sign reading Emerald City. And to the left of the Scarecrow is half of a green glittery sign above the indoor cinema. All these animatronic figures standing on the yellow tiles, which represent the end of the yellow brick road. The transition from the yellow of the road to the glittering green of Emerald City is stark. Oh my God, it gets worse. Friedman, 2013. I provide this description to draw readers' attention to several themed aspects of the space of this area and of the JRC, and moreover to give a reader a sense of the magnitude and pervasiveness of the use of theming to the structure and function of the JRC's program. Okay, I'm sorry, I cannot help my fucking self. I can't. For fuck's sake. These kids, a good majority of them, according to the JRC, are fucking teenagers. For the love of God. Now, I'm not saying adults don't love Wizard of Oz, nor that adults don't like Disney. For the love of God, I still love Lilo and Stitch. I have no problems admitting this fact. But in a school, it should be fucking age appropriate. For the love of God. You created this space, it's supposed to be the reward center, for fucking 5-year-olds. And why do they do this, folks? It's this concept that somehow all disabled people with developmental disabilities, we're all childlike. And that we're always going to be childlike. Never any adult desires or interests or teenage interests and desires. Just children shit. It's the most insulting and condescending thing on the planet. We've got to, for the love of God, medical model, if you listen to nothing goddamn else we say, stop with this idea that we're all childlike forever. That is not the case. And you drill it into these parents' heads, and then they scream at us for telling them they're wrong. Forgetting the fact that once upon a time, we were their fucking kids. Stop treating adult people with adults who are disabled, especially fucking teenagers. Quit treating us as children. You are setting us up not just to be down in the dumps about ourselves, but you're also setting us up for extremely dangerous situations where people can and will take advantage of us. Just look at the numbers. For the love of God, visit disabilitymemorial.org and you'll see what I'm talking about, what you're setting them up for. Prepare us for adulthood as though you would your quote-unquote normal child. Maybe you might have to go about it a little bit differently, but prepare them for real adulthood. Get this idea that we're going to be children forever the fuck out of your head. Because shit like this is not even going to come close to preparing these kids for the real world. Okay? Fucking stop it. Sorry. Moving on. King and O'Boyle 2011 discussed the role of theming in Disney parks and in other themed environments such as museums or restaurants. They argue that theming offers those exposed to it a distorted version of reality, one that is tightly edited, stylized, and focused version of reality, shaped to advance a specific narrative. Yeah, it does. A key aspect of theming in Disney parks, and as I will demonstrate below an example of the JRC, is the layout of the physical space of the building. In the Disney parks, this is known as architecture with plot. Dunlop 1996 and Marling 1997. For example, in Disney parks, there is an over-narrative quality to the park layout mimicking Disney films, which according to King and O'Boyle, cues visitors how to move through the space correctly. For example, the Disney parks introduce guests to a sort of title page in the form of the town square for which guests can see the castle in the distance. From this town square, guests are drawn to the castle, and so move through the square towards it down Main Street. They're drawn into the hub of the park where they can access rides, food, and other attractions. So Silver Dollar City also has something like this, where you first come out, you go through the guest shop, and you go your tickets in, and you go to the main square. Usually they might have a stage up there with someone performing. If it's during a holiday, they might have a special light show going on. But this is accurate. This is pretty accurate. Okay. King O'Boyle 2011 state that evoking behavior on cues through theming calls for a careful choice of theme. At this point, I would like to discuss the use of theming at the JRC. The obvious overreaching theme at the JRC is that the Wizard of Oz, with the rewards area set up around different parts of the Oz narrative, starting with the Yellow Brick Road and ending in the Emerald City, which is populated by animatronic characters. God. As in the Disney theme parks, but on a much smaller scale, we see in JRC this sort of architecture with plot, which functions in part to cue visitors towards certain behaviors, taking left or right, walking further into the park, etc. In the JRC, students work their way, both physically and metaphorically, down the Yellow Brick Road to earn privileges and access to the less restricted, more fun areas of the building, if you call that fun. Like the Disney parks with the title page of the town square leading towards the Sleeping Beauty Castle, the JRC has students moving towards the Emerald City at the center of the building. Ron 2011 and Bachman 1991 discussed the importance of narrative context to the success of the Disney theme parks. The same narrative context that Ron and Buckman refer to can be seen enacted in the design of the JRC, which, as has been established, is a theme space that mimics many of the characteristics of a theme park. So think of it this way. They're literally making these kids have to earn their way through this fucking fantasy land by not being affected while their other friends are being shocked to the point they fall on the ground screaming. They have to, quote unquote, correctly deal with the bizarre behavioral lessons. They basically have to show no emotions at all, only speak when spoken to. And then they'll get the fucking kind of rewards you would get if you were at the very least a preteen. Some of the people there are over 25 fucking years old. Tell me, is this appropriate? See, most schools, like here at Rivendell, we have, as kids go from each stage in their schooling, age appropriate, for the love of fucking God. And less is goddamn more. What you are doing is setting up a theme that is so goddamn distracting. How the fuck is the kid supposed to focus on their work? But that's the thing. They're not. Remember, they want to provoke behaviors out of these kids so that they can then punish them. And, treat them. And then, well, see, it was wrong. But when you provoke that type of behavior due to overwhelming sensory issues due to the kabuki acid funhouse you created, yeah, you see where I'm going with that, don't you? I don't think for a fucking moment that was not what was actually intended. When you think about how disorderly it is to have Wizard of Oz and fucking jarring Disney and all the colors and the fluorescent lights and fucking glitter with lights. Think about it. How distracting is that going to be? How if these types of things, as you can obviously see with me, obviously, if they call it sensory issues, there's gonna be behaviors. And I don't think for a fucking second that part of their idea was to get those kids to act out to those sensory issues in order to punish them for inappropriate behavior. And on that sadly dark note, I'm going to go ahead and close out this evening. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few that we do tend to get removed from time to time. So folks, please don't forget to hit that like button, hit subscribe, and don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time. And I won't say have a good one, because there's going to be another video after this. Actually, no, you're not going to see this no more. So always have a good one. And if you don't see my other video going up after this one right now, please watch it after this one. Blah. Bye bye.